yesterday shows several men assaulting a Memphis, Tennessee basement.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. My name is Jerry Wetzel, owner of Red Zone Threat Management, and I have Mitch Langman with me. He's the head of Red Zone Threat Management in Australia, and we're going to go over an important topic. It's a topic that I've gotten a lot of emails on for the last 13 years, which is how the Red Zone program deals with impact weapons. Over the years, when people have, with the success of the knife defense program, people have asked me, hey, when's the Red Zone stick video coming out? Where's the Red Zone impact weapon video or club video, bat video, whatever? And if you watch the knife defense program, all of the tools are there. It is an important subject to address because there are some subtle differences in terms of dealing with an impact weapon, but for the most part, all of the tools in terms of controlling pressure, controlling angle, controlling position, those are all contained within all of the Red Zone programs. So if you study any of them, you'll be able to quickly adapt those tactics to dealing with an impact weapon. But we have to kind of set the stage, as we do with anything that involves the Red Zone program, which is we first have to define what it is we're trying to deal with here. And sometimes that can, a misstep there can be very misleading, because once you look in the wrong direction, once you make a wrong assumption about what reality is with regard to dealing with knife defense or impact weapons or multiple opponents or firearms, once you have a wrong assumption there and you start building tactics there, you end up wasting a lot of training time against techniques that, quite frankly, are less than optimal. And one of the things that we need to look at first is how bad guys use weapons, right? It's not dueling. Bad guys use weapons in a very specific way, and it's not always what people think about.
So we're not here to, as Joe said, duel. We're not here to stand and fight with the guys swinging the weapon at us. Effectively, the prime motivation is going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a force multiplier. So if I'm not big enough, scary enough to do damage to my intended victim, target, whatever it is, awesome, this club, this baseball bat, this hammer, whatever the weapon is, that's going to do the business. Second of all is a weapon of intimidation. So if I'm not scary enough, excellent, this will be. So once again, you know, if it's a hammer, you know, people have used hammers, they know the impact of a hammer, so that's going to be scary. It's not going to be this, you know, dueling at 10 paces kind of business. It's going to be that quick, turn up, rock up, either straight away hit with the weapon, show the weapon and threaten with it and all that kind of deal. Otherwise, it is just going to be straight on, and it's going to be violent, it's going to be high energy. It's not going to be tactically deployed. It is going to be driven pretty much straight away. So that kind of brings us to the realities of weapon selection again, and it's not a very clear-cut kind of, selection.
Excellent. And so, stick with us. We're going to bring out some weapons, and then we're going to talk specifically about how these weapons are used in realistic attacks. So, be right back with you. Okay, so let's get started looking at what kind of weapons we're actually trained to deal with. And we got to start off straight away by addressing the fact that there are a lot of arts out there that specialize in weapons work. Okay, they work a lot with stick, a lot with knife, kali, all the Filipino martial arts, and they spend a lot of time and a lot of years perfecting their craft. And this is not to say this is how you deal with kali in a kali fight. We're purely interested in how actual fights happen and how impact weapons are used in assaults. And we want to make sure, we say this in all the Red Zone programs, we must differentiate between match fighting and an assault. And the key there is if my opponent is backing up and creating space and trying to counter my attempts to defend myself, I'm creating space. If they are not pushing the action, if they aren't coming forward, hammering on me with that, if they're at all cautious, looking to stop me on my way in, I'm just going to create space. They have a choice. They can press the action or I'm leaving. That's an important distinction. I'm not ever trying to go in there and get a hold of one of these things just to get a hold of one of these things. I'm trying to end an assault, and if it's not an assault, I'm leaving. It simplifies your decision-making process, and the whole counter for counter thing really doesn't come into play. Another thing that doesn't come into play when we look at this, because typically when people talk about dealing with impact weapons, a rattan stick is what is often addressed. Oh, if someone's trying to hit you, and then they refer to weapons-based arts and how they attack, and then the weapons-based art people say, well, no, because we would do these combinations. They probably would, but I'm talking about people who actually attack people and assault people, and that's what we're going to address specifically. One of the things that we don't see so much is any kind of high-low attacks or combination attacks. Okay, it's very aggressive, very heavy pressure, and typically a weapon that's considerably heavier than this. One of the things about a stick like this is it's flexible and hard at the same time, and it's light, so I can whip this thing around. So more often than not, guys aren't carrying something like this. Okay, if it's a road rage incident, someone's going to grab a tire iron, or grab a small baseball bat or a full-size baseball bat, something, and that's what they're going to come with. Not a light stick that I can do a lot of counter fighting with. And there's not going to be backing up and triangle footwork. It's going to be much more aggressive. So keep that in mind when we start dealing with impact weapons, as we're not looking at match fighting and counter for counter, purely at assaults. So I'm going to turn that over to you.
So with the assaults, as Jerry said, it's weapons of opportunity essentially. We're not talking about planned weapons. It's kind of what comes in hand. There's a construction site nearby, Coles pole, so a trolley pole. If it is a road rage incident, whatever is near to hand, tire iron, mag light, whatever it is. So some of the common items you might see, again, might be a short billy club, short baseball bat, whatever the equivalent might be. Yep. Going a bit longer, baseball bat, something of length. Yep. Something what might send shivers down people's spine, good old claw hammer and variables of it. But again, they're all going to be long range and they're going to be bludgeoning weapons. Where the risk comes into it, obviously, is when we start getting these really long weapons of opportunity, yep. So, it might be, as I said, construction site. So I might have just shaken down a pole, fence, whatever it is, fence paling, and now they've got this really long weapon, which if you're sitting at the end of the trajectory, so if we're here and we're swinging that giant pendulum, this is not where you want to be. As Jerry said, it's not going to be a fight. We're not sitting here and I'm going to be going low, high, round or whatever it is. It is going to be smashing for the head, it is going to be smashing for the body, or it is going to be smashing for the legs, depending on exactly what they're going for. My bet would be straight for the head. And that's the most dangerous part when we're actually swinging, of course. We need to be careful that we're not just backing up, straight away, that we're not just crashing forward. Excellent. We need to make sure that we know exactly where we are when that weapon starts coming for us. Excellent.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And one of the things that it's easy to neglect, especially if we're talking about something like a baseball bat, there's weight to this. And that's why it's a two-handed weapon. That's why in many people's minds a baseball bat's an excellent weapon, because I can really smash. And I will give you that in a multiple opponent scenario where I can get my buddies to hold on to him and tee off, excellent, excellent weapon. Not that I advocate that. Or if he's on the ground, excellent weapon. But it's very slow to swing something like this with full power. And it's important to understand. And even when you start implementing other kinds of tools into your training, we want to look at how those tools would be utilized. Not how you, with tactically terrific mindset, might try and use it, but what we're most likely to deal with. Sometimes it's hard with things like baseball bats because it's hard to train safely with it. But what you'll see, and when we get into our next section, we start talking about some of the tactics that we're going to be using, the impact itself is not really as dangerous as you might think, because we're not going to be anywhere near it. So we'll be right back with you and talk about some of your options for thwarting attacks with impact weapons.